You want to know anything about me?
I want to know everything about you. Yeah. Can you tell me where you are right now and who you are and what you're doing?
I live in Eagle River. I used to live on a sailboat for 2001 to 2016, 11 years.
Wow.
And I've been to 25 or 24 different countries before I was 21.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, it kind of sounds similar to my world, except without the boat. I lived on a bus for a number of years with my friends, just being in the band.
Oh,
Um,
cool. That's
yeah,
neat.
I think you got more countries than I do, but yeah, we just drove around the states. We've toured Europe, South America, all over Asia, all over the place. I like to call the disability community kind of like it's large but lonely because nobody can completely identify from one person to the next. Even I'm a T4 paraplegic, but my story is going to be completely different from any other T4 paraplegic. Have you uh, it's a hard thing to explain, but I think it's important to have as many conversations and as many perspectives as you can, and just it's all about hearing stories, right?
Yeah. Mine is I have intellectual disability, so I have a hard time speaking sometimes
You're
and get my message across.
you're killing it to me, though. You're doing absolutely spectacular. You should be a radio host.
Yeah. I think I will. I'm an icebreaker. I like go out and meet people, but kind
That's
of hard when you're stuck inside and gotta do Zoom.
that's all my whole life has been, though. It's just like going from place to place, like meeting as many people as you can, playing to big crowds, and then getting back in the bus and going to the next city and just doing it. And it's a lot different, but it's a nice time to kind of be home and reflect on what's important,
Mhm.
and kind of take all the perspective of all your travel and reduce it, and think about what you learned and think about the stories you learned, right?
Mhm. How you become uh in the wheelchair?
Well, when I was about 13 years ago, when I was 25 years old, I had already been I had been a touring rock musician for years, and I played in a bunch of different bands. And um, basically, while I was kind of doing that, I was also padding my income and like working second jobs. So I was doing construction jobs and all kinds of other stuff. And long story short, just kind of on an off chance, I ended up falling into a construction site, into a hole that was off of the side of a friend's house. And it wasn't very far. It's kind of crazy. I grew up doing all kinds of crazy things. I grew up in Alaska, so I would jump into lakes, jump into rivers, go climb mountains and jump off those. But ultimately, like, I just kind of fell gently, like 12 feet into a hole, but I landed wrong. So I severed T4 through T6 and got my spine pretty good. Um, but I was already playing in some pretty big bands at the time, so pretty much right after rehab, after 2 or 3 months, I was back up and playing shows in the chair, and I kind of had to relearn how to hold the guitar and how to
Mhm.
use my breath and how to sing. But I was just really lucky to be able to go kind of right back and start doing my job again. And that was 13 years ago, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah, you ever feel angry about they put you in a wheelchair, or you always
Sure.
have bumps in road?
I uh
You get
I
frustrated.
I of course, and I think the more times that you experience a certain roadblock or different difficulties, like the more times that you work through it, the easier some of that stuff becomes. Life still throws curveballs at me all the time. Like I can be completely defeated by going into a building by like 2 stairs. Like that's it for me. Like I'm just not going in there unless someone lifts me in. Um, but I also work really hard to find humor in all of it. I think if you can just like laugh and notice that something's absurd or hilarious or weird, like that makes everything so much easier. Yeah.
With this platform, What do you see yourself as a role model for others?
Well, I think the coolest thing that I can do is just be on a stage in front of everyone, and I do my job, and you know, I like to talk, and I'm proud of who I am and what I've been able to achieve with my circumstances. But I also just go out in front of 1,000 people every night and go play the show. And it's not like, oh, he's up there in a wheelchair. It's, hey, he's up there in a guitar, you know. So for me, it's just always kind of I've kind of existed to demonstrate that you can do what I do, even you know, even and especially if you're in a chair. Like the chair doesn't matter.
Mm-mm.
You know,
Do you see yourself in the future helping others?
that's hopefully. I mean, I would love to be. That's the best thing that you can do. And again, it goes back to I've traveled the world. You've traveled the world. If you don't share those experiences and those stories with anyone else, what's the point? So I think there's a lot of different ways that you can help people, and a lot of that can just be to either to understand where they're coming from because of your personal experiences, or showing them that there's other things in the world that are beyond just within the self and within them. So that's kind of my big fight.
How did you overcome your challenge? How did you cope with your fears?
I am still learning how to overcome my challenges, and I'm still learning how to cope with my fears. I don't know that anybody, able-bodied or disabled, but especially the disabled, I think we're set up sometimes in a world that's not necessarily built for us. um, Certainly me, and certainly anybody that deals with frustration. I think that's where that frustration comes from. And frustration can either lead to let's figure out how to fix it or work with it, or frustration can lead into fear, which just makes you want to run from it. So I've always kind of tried to figure figure out my frustrations and see if I can figure out a solution whenever I can.
How did you use your strengths and what are they?
I have no idea. I was lucky enough to keep doing what I was doing. Fortunately, I guess my strengths are I'm a multi instrumentalist, guitarist, bassist, songwriter, and thankfully, I got to sort of weave those strengths into my life as it was before I got injured and as it is now post injury. So lucky me, like that's spectacular. I don't know that I have a lot of other strengths, um, but you know, I can juggle a little bit, and I guess I don't know. I think strengths can just be curiosities and hobbies and things like that. And I think as long as you're still curious and you still want to learn, you're gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm. Who are your role models? Who helped you, empower you, and told you I can? And how how did they empower you?
I mean, Christopher Reeves is amazing. He's kind of the international symbol of overcoming. Christopher and Dana Reeve. I mean, I don't think that you can get more inspired by what it means to overcome than that guy. Pretty incredible. Um, a lot of the people that showed me possibility are not people that you would know, not famous people. My first roommate that I had in the hospital when I was learning how to do rehab was an older paraplegic that was he was in there for some other health reasons, but I was brand new, and he had already been in a chair for 20 years at that point. So when the nurses would come in and they would, you know, try and scare me with things and roll me over and poke me and prod me and all that kind of stuff, he would be on the other side of the curtain being like, you don't need to do that. And then they would leave and he'd be like, listen, you're going to be okay. You know, like these sometimes when you're in the hospital and in situations like that, they kind of have to scare you a little bit and tell you certain things and stick a thermometer in you and, you know, like check your ears and your throat and your nose and your mouth. And he's like, you don't need all that. So I think just having role models in your community that or even friends in your community that can help you out in certain situations. That's the most important thing, is just a sense of community and people that can, if they don't identify with you, they can at least sympathize or help in different ways. That's the key.
Mm. How did your challenge affect your music? Did you outlet allow you to believe in yourself?
Yeah, I'm not the world's greatest songwriter, but I can play a really good guitar. You know, like I'm a better musician than I am a songwriter or a creator, I think. But for the songs that I have created, it's been a huge part of it. It's been an enormous therapy just to sort of be able to be creative and to take the thoughts that you have and hopefully come with a clearer meaning of what those thoughts are. Because a lot of the time when we're talking about fear and anxiety and all that, it can just be a cloud. It can just be this sort of abstract mood, or, you know, this sort of place of unsettling, you know, unhappiness, or however it works. And I think when you can get to a situation where you're writing down words and singing out notes, you kind of figure out where that's all coming from. So yeah, it's been enormous. It's been huge.
Is there anything you would like to add or share?
I'm just happy to be here, and I miss Alaska every day. My mom's in Anchorage. You know, my family's from the Valley and in Fairbanks and Anchorage and all over the place. And so I'm just I'm happy to be connecting with you. And
Yeah, me too.
I'm sitting down here in Seattle, Washington. It's a nice cloudy day. It's been way too hot here, but
Wow.
I'm just I'm happy to be sitting here with you and connecting with you. And I love how the world has sort of become smaller and larger at the same time with things like this. So it's great to see you.
You want to
Yeah.
play some music?
Yeah, I got a song for you guys. I can grab a guitar. There we go. Let's see what this sounds like. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, let me make a few adjustments. Okay. So I didn't know what I was going to play, whether it was going to be an original or a cover, but I figured I'd take kind of a personal song, and hopefully it's a little bit of a song for hope. And yeah, I'll get into it. But thanks for having me, and thanks for listening. When I'm alone, 1 second. Never come alone with me alone. Never come alone with me. Never come alone with me, oh no. I always turn away from thoughts like this. I always turn away right here. I always come along with you alone. So never come along with me. Ah, thank you. That's that's about the only original I got. That's an oldie from where I come from, but I just wanted to thank you guys for letting me talk and maybe make a quick plug for the PTM Foundation that we've been working on.
What's the
The
PT?
PTM Foundation is it's a organization that's set up kind of on behalf of the band, and it's designed to work with voices that we feel need to be amplified. So a lot of the times that can be indigenous voices, a lot of the times that can be voices of disability, but that's that's kind of the most important work that I've done outside of playing guitar, outside of talking or doing any of that kind of stuff. It's fun to do a little bit of work and to get back into figuring out what's important. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much, dude. This is really lovely. I really enjoy it.
Disability pride.
Yay!
All right, guys. See ya.